Welcome to the third BLG Boost training. Very excited to have you. And actually what I'll do is just go to a second mic. So if you just give me 1 second, I'll just swap mics. There we go. That might sound a little better. So for those that are listening live, if you could just chat, put in the chat if that sounds a little better. Cheldo, if you can, in particular, if you can hear me, that'd be great. Excellent, much better. Okay, great. So yeah, welcome to the third training. And this is really about how to do more with less. And a lot of us have complexities where we've got multiple staff, we've got multiple clients, and also we've got multiple contractors in most cases. So what I want to do today is really open the Komodo to how we manage that complexity at Build, Live, Give. And this is learning from experts like Scott Galletley, who's a Boost member, and other people, and really applying a lot of the things that I learned at Coca-Cola as well, who were very good at managing projects, new product launches, etc. So I'll bring all of that learning into the training today. We'll take around about an hour, but it may end a little sooner. It just depends on the amount of questions you've got. So I'll just kick off, as I always do, with a bit of an opener, which is, if you're a corporate escapee like most of us in BLG Boost and you're struggling with getting everything done, it's not your fault. There is so much to do with limited time and resources, and you can really feel overwhelmed, and that's okay. What I want to do today is show you a way that I hope you can work better with that overwhelm, and we can give you really practical solutions that you can go and implement today to make it better. My goal is to really help you do more with less by implementing 3 actions from this training. So these are some of the common challenges that we come across, and I'd love to get also some of the challenges that you have in the chat box in a moment. But one is that your tasks are buried in email. So I know that we've been talking about getting off email for a long time, but it's still one of the key ways that we communicate. It's just easy to do that. And what you can do is actually get all your tasks mixed up, and it can be quite confusing what you've got to do and when you've got to do it, and also who's doing what if it's all buried in email. The second is you allocate the same task to multiple people. I know I'm very guilty of this. I've got multiple VAs, and sometimes I'll allocate the same task to multiple people. And I find it really difficult sometimes to keep track of whether I've actually allocated something or not to somebody. The third is you focus on the small priorities. You can get so caught up in the detail and doing the things that sometimes make you feel good, but they don't actually really move the needle in your business. And I want to show you a way that you can make sure you're prioritizing the most important tasks. And then the fourth and last one is you are coordinating things across multiple suppliers and multiple platforms. And as I said, we particularly at BLG Boost have got a great team in the Philippines, and we also use a lot of external suppliers that we use to bring this community to life, and it can get really confusing. So I'm going to show you how you could manage that in the future. So often when I talk to people, certainly when they first come into Boost, they start to feel a little bit like this, because it can be overwhelming, and some of those key challenges can to lead to you feeling like this. So what I'd love to do is just type in the chat box if any of those challenges resonate with you, or any other challenges you face when we're looking at the topic of, how do you do more with less? So just waiting while people are typing into the chat box. So someone said all of the above. Very good. It's not good you've got all of those challenges, but certainly today we're going to look to solve those as much as possible. And I think, people always talk about time, that I don't have enough time. And what I really want to show you is how can you leverage yourself? So how can you seem to be a lot better and have a lot more time than what you've got? So what we'll do now is just go into the solutions. So what I want to say at the outset is not one It's not a one-size solution. So, you're going to take different elements. So you're potentially at different phases in your growth, and you also have a natural preference as to what you like, what you don't like. So I'm not going to say that all of this works for you, but it's certainly worked for ourselves, and it's also worked for other clients that I've implemented it in. So you take what you think is right for your business. So I'll give you my top tips, and you really apply what you think is right for you. And as I said earlier on, we will use Asana, and I'll go in and show my screen and how I use Asana, but this can apply to any software that you're using, whether it's Trello, whether it's Rike. It doesn't really matter what software you're using. It's the methodologies that I want to show you today, and then you can apply that to whatever project management software you're using. But I also want to just say that if you're not using something at the moment and you're still relying upon email, email's okay, but as I said earlier, it can really be harder, and it makes it a lot harder to run your business. So we really do recommend you use some form of platform. So tip number one is setting up your key projects. So there's what we call a project is a one-off activity. So it's something you need to do that really progresses your plan, but it's not something you're going to do on a recurring basis. So that's how we define projects and how we set them up, and I'll show you in a moment how we set them up within our Asana. And the criteria for me is the complexity. So the more complex it is, I tend to pull it out of the day-to-day and set it up as a standalone project. And also if it's got multiple stakeholders. So for example, when I launched BLG Boost, we actually set it up as a specific project within Asana, and it had multiple stakeholders being contractors, the agency, and also my team. And I'll show you how we managed something like that through the platform. Also, if it's got a defined launch or a due date. So Boost, for example, we set a due date, but also you may have a website, you may have a podcast that's launching, you may have a membership site that's launching, and you might want to just focus on that purely and get very concentrated on that, and it's different to the day-to-day running of that once it's launched. And as I said before, then typically a once-off. So some examples, as I mentioned before, is launch a podcast. So we are revisiting our podcast. So I'll show you in our projects how we're doing that. A new website, new membership site, and a new app. When we launch the BLG Boost app, which you can download from either your app store, we used this methodology to manage that, because once again, it had met the criteria earlier. So what I'll do now is just go to my screen and show you what the projects are. So as I said, it doesn't really matter what the platform is, but what I'll go through later is that we've got some projects and we've got some functions and operations. So I'll go through that later, but then I've got what this is called the BLG projects area. And as you can see at the moment, we've got some key projects that we pulled out of the day-to-day because we want to make, because it fits that criteria in short, so I won't go through it again. But one is Active Campaign, and we've been implementing Active Campaign as a marketing automation software for some time now. It's been in the business for about 12 months, but we're not really leveraging it as much as we would like to. So if I go into Active Campaign, when I have my meeting each week with my the project manager, we go through and use this methodology. And I won't go through now what the Kanban system is. I'll go through later, but you can see that it's got the key information, and I can go and see at any point what's actually happening in those projects. Then I've got Project Optimize, which is working with a company called Less Doing, where we're looking to improve our project management process and also our standard operating procedures. So once again, working with multiple stakeholders on that. I'm doing a book, which is something that I'm really excited to do. I've only just started that, so we haven't really filled this out yet, but it's a once-off project. It's complex and it's with multiple stakeholders. And then I've got some others here, which I won't go through. But look, I recommend that there's only, sort of 5 key projects at any one point. With this system, you can actually archive projects. So the Boost that we launched back in November, it was a complex project, and I can actually just show you that. So, sorry, we just got someone rejoining you in twice now, Shelto. Excellent. Sorry, I'll Oh, sorry, Shelter. I'm just getting a bit of feedback. Great, thanks.
Yeah, sorry, that's I just couldn't see the presentation on my mobile phone, so I'm just opening my laptop to get the screen as well.
Oh, great,
in fact,
excellent.
I don't think it's showing on the screen either.
Let me just go back in. Okay, is that showing now?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, so so as I said, going back to when we launched Boost, we had a project in here. So we had the launch of that. I won't go into too much detail now on that, but you can get the idea. And what I'll do is show you the way that we structure these and why we structure them the way that we do. So one of the key actions then is to agree to one project and set it up. So just start with one thing. So it might be a book launch, it might be a website, whatever your major project that you're working on at the moment, you could pick that and then use this methodology to see if it's going to work for you. So tip number 2 is around the day-to-day operations. So before we deep dive into the projects in more detail, I'll just show you how we do that. So, this is really, what are the ongoing operations you need to progress your plan? So you've got your plan where you want to head, whether it's a 12-week plan through to normally a 2-year plan. We recommend that you do both. And then there's key things you've got to do to get that plan. And often people will just go to top level. So I've got to achieve, podcast downloads of 1,000 a month or something like that. But there's a whole lot of steps that need to occur on a day-to-day basis to actually deliver that. So what I'll do is show you how we manage that. And once again, the criteria is we normally do it by function. So I think that's easiest. And maybe that's a bit of a hangover from when I was in corporate. We also look at key products and services that you might have. So, for example, we've got Boost as a standalone and also any ongoing work. So that's sort of the criteria for pulling out your operations. And as I said, sales, marketing, people, and from a product point of view, we use Boost. So if I just go back here, you'll see in my Asana, we've got operations here. And this is really everything that needs to happen. So if I was unfortunately had to leave the company, or if I had to sell it tomorrow, I could basically say, look, these are all the activities we're doing to run the company. So if I just go into marketing as an example, so once again, we've got the Kanban approach, which is doing repeating and done. And the reason that I say repeating is because you might work on something to get it to the right level, and then you need someone else just to continue to implement that. So that's why we've put in this extra one. Some people just like the 3, which is fine, but I find that once you move it into done and tick it off, it gets lost, and then people don't go back to it. So that's why we have the repeating one. But as you can see, we try to keep it to no more than 5 key things at any one time that we're focusing on doing. So what we do is we have a meeting once a month, and we go through all the doing and the repeating and just work out, have we got a maximum of 5 things by each function, so that we're really setting the highest priorities. So at the moment, I actually had website as a repeating recently, but we then moved that across to doing, because we've got a key focus on changing our website. But it's not a major launch. So if it was a launch of a complete new website, I'd actually pull it out as a project, because that would, that's got more complexity, and it's sort of a one-off thing to launch a new website. But if it's just the ongoing management or change of something like a website, we do it. So you can see here we've got the marketing strategy, website, Facebook ads, our lead magnet, blogs, and what you can see is that each person here is the key responsible party. So whoever in the business is responsible for it, they're actually listed here, and we like to call these as deliverables. And you can see that if I click on the lead magnet here, what we do in Asana, and it's specific to Asana, I think we just put a colon at the end, and that sort of makes it as a deliverable. So it's like a hire task. And then under that, we've got more information, which I'll go to in a moment. So you can see we've got marketing, we've got sales, we've got people. So at any one point, you can go in and see all the things that you need to run the day-to-day operations of your business. And I suppose for me, it's all the IP I've accumulated through my Coke experience and also running my businesses that we've got this here. But it's very easy when people come on board as a new employee to see what's happening, and also it gives me enormous ease of visibility of everything that's happening across my operations. The other thing is you can also bring in suppliers into this as well. So that's so if I go back to the presentation deck for the moment, the key one here is to think about how you would structure your operations. So whether you do it by function and whether you also do it by key activity. So for example, for me, I've got BLG Boost as operations. So it is, now in operation, and you can see what we've got as doing at the moment, what we're focusing on, and then all the repeating items that myself or the team are doing on a regular basis for Boost. So that's where I'll pull out a specific product. And I've also got one for Titans as well, which is our mastermind, and we've pulled that out as well. So that just gives you a little understanding of what we do from an operations point of view. And you just got to think about, well, how would I break my business up from an operations point of view? The next is we'll just go in and talk briefly about the template in the project. And I know for those that are listening or have just joined us, you can type in at the chat at any point, and I'll definitely answer any of your questions. So just the little box at the bottom of Zoom, it's got chat. I think most of you that are on the call have already used Zoom lots of times. So if you've got any questions, please do it. For those that are recording it, watching it as a recording, you can always contact me afterwards to get some more clarity on any of these points. So setting up the project template is the next one. So this is the format that we use, and it's once again sort of taking from my corporate experience. I also did quite a bit with a startup, a guy that set up startup communities around the world and did a lot of work with startups. So we took his methodology, combined it with what I did with Coke, plus what we do on a day-to-day basis working with all of our clients. And we find that it works quite well. So I mentioned before that it's the Kanban: to do, doing, repeating, and done. And that's just the way that we set it up. And I'll show you later why we prefer to have cards than lists. We just find them a little easier. And yeah, it's a personal choice. But if you look at the moment, if I look at that, which is, to me, it's quite easy. I can see it visually. I can move them around, prioritize them. I can drop them. So it's quite easy. Versus if I go to my task, which is a task list, I just find that a little more overwhelming and less easy to follow. So that's why we set it up the way that we do there.